movies. I want to play this audio of this movie that Stu sent to me yesterday. And Stu sent and said, hey, you remember that crazy man?
I remember the crazy guy who used to go on TV all the time and say that there's going to be this movement where eventually they get to the point where they're pulling rich executives out of their houses and beating them in the streets and killing them.
Do you remember how pilloried, if you remember me saying that, how pilloried I was on a conspiracy theory? Nobody's going to come on, even O'Reilly. Come on, Beck. Nobody's going to be pulling anybody out. And I'm telling you, it's coming. Because we are sowing the seeds of hatred so deeply that when you add on top of it anger, hunger, job loss, fear, when you add those things into the mix that have still not yet arrived, darkness will sweep if we are not holding each other up. And listen to this commercial.
And think about this in the context of Glenn says an offhanded comment or goes through a news story, and that sort of stuff supposedly causes violence. It makes people react, and the Tea Party's going to go crazy because of things you say in a monologue on talk radio to adults. Then listen to this.
We are the East. We don't care how rich you are. We want all those who are guilty to experience the terror of their crimes. It's easy when it's not your life. Easy when it's not your home. But when it's your fault, it shouldn't be so easy to sleep at night. Especially when we know where you live. Lie to us, we'll lie to you. Spy on us, we'll spy on you. Poison us, we'll poison you. We will counterattack 3 corporations in the next 6 months for their worldwide terrorism. And this is just the beginning.
This is just evil. It is flat out evil. I'm telling you, I don't think I've seen anything so evil as this. This may be a crappy movie. I don't know anything about it, but this is evil. This direction is absolutely evil. You cannot tell me that movies don't affect me. First of all, the shooter in Colorado, he dressed as the Joker. Hollywood, hello.
Yeah,
don't tell me that it doesn't play. Don't tell me that it doesn't play on the weak-minded. Of course it does. And if you're telling me that movies, full-length movies, don't affect people, then my gosh, should you all be arrested for fraud? For charging the kind of money that you do for a 60-second ad. You should all go to jail for massive, massive theft. If you've been trying to convince people that your ads in 30 and 10, in 30 and 60-second bites move people to do something, to go out and buy a product, try something new, see it in a totally different way. If 10, 30, and 60-second spots, if they can do that, what makes you think that a 90-minute movie that plays right into a subculture doesn't move people? You incredibly evil liars.
Yeah, I mean, the movie is specifically about an eco-terrorist group that is going to, because they've been wronged, feel free to go and kill executives from companies because corporations, as you know, are evil.
Yeah, they set up that premise that these corporations are poisoning people all over the world. It's because of their world terrorism.
And you know what it is? They show a corporation. They show a pharmaceutical company. Now, who is going to be on the chopping block? You plant these seeds. I'm telling you, we will reap what we sow. You plant these seeds, and no good will come of it. I am not talking about banning this movie. I'm not talking about anything. I don't know anything about this movie. It could be showing in one theater, but it only took 19 hijackers to change the world. But it could show in one theater. It doesn't matter. And it's not this one movie. And I'm not talking about banning it or boycotting it or anything else. I'm talking, because there anybody on the left, is there anybody in Hollywood that has a soul left to them? Is there anybody that says maybe we should lift people up? Is there anybody that is trying to put light into the world instead of darkness?
And might I remind you, the most wanted terrorist list in this country, the only one who is a non-Muslim on that list is a left-wing terrorist, a left-wing animal activist terrorist. That's the only one on our entire most wanted terrorist list. There's 30 Muslims and 1 left-winger, 0 right-wingers.
And you know what? We don't even talk about it. We don't talk about animal activists like this. We don't talk about Elf or Alf. Mm-hmm. We don't talk about Muslims. They're not terrorists. What are you talking about? We can't even say that. The only terrorist we ever talk about is Timothy McVeigh, and he wasn't a Christian either. But I'll be damned if you don't think he's a Christian. We talk about the NRA. Is there any honest journalist alive anymore that will walk the floor of the NRA and not look down at people? Is there anybody that will see that these are good, God-fearing Americans, that these are people that will fight for your right to do awful things? They will fight for your right to say awful things, fight for your right to make awful movies, fight for my right to do awful radio or TV shows. They'll fight for your right because it is your right. And yet you tear them apart. Is there no one out there that is even honest enough to look at an hour and 40-minute speech, an hour and 40-minute speech of the NRA that talked about compassion and love, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Jesus, that talked about we have to have more responsibility? Or do you all get spoon-fed by Media Matters? You worms, you will pay an eternal price if the world spirals into darkness. I read a story today about the things that happen in China. China is the new model. The smog you can see from space. The rivers are running red with chemicals. 300,000 pigs were found floating dead in a river recently. People, the rich, hire lookalikes to go and stand trial and serve their time in prison. Their solution for their awful, awful system for their workers is to put suicide nets all around Foxconn so you can't kill yourself. You'll just bounce on the net and go back to work. Good God Almighty, do you see where the world is headed? If the United States of America, if the West falls, forget about the red, white, and blue. If the West falls, if decent, God-fearing Americans, if decent, God-fearing Canadians, if those who understand what made the West great, if they fall, the world will weep for decades, if not centuries. Where will the world run for freedom? We have an eternal responsibility. I am a flawed messenger. I don't know how to say it. You have to be worn out from listening to me for the last 10 years. I don't know how else to get the message out. But somebody in this audience does. Will it be you? Will you find a new way? Can you use new media? Can you use Facebook, Twitter? Can you find a new way? Is there an artist out there? Is there a video producer out there? Is there a songwriter? Is there a movie maker? Is there a preacher or a pastor or a rabbi that will stand? We're running out of time, America. We're running out of time. And hatred and violence is not the answer. Peace, love, and God. He is our rock. He is our salvation. He is our hiding place. And if we don't stand now, may I suggest that you strengthen that hiding place, fortify it, because what you see and hear in this movie will not be a movie. We'll be lucky if the world turns out to be as sane as China.